We're back with our politics lead this morning. Two potential 2020 presidential candidates suggested that Senator Kamala Harris has run too far to the left. In her CNN town hall meeting with Iowa Democrats last night, Senator Harris called for Medicare for all, legislation that would end private health insurance companies and put the government in charge of a universal health care system. The debate quickly highlighted a chasm between the liberal and moderate voices that aim to defeat President Trump. CNN's Ryan Nobles picks up our coverage.
Former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz today launched a direct attack at California Senator Kamala Harris after she endorsed a Medicare for all health care plan during a CNN town hall in Iowa Monday night.
And the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Well, you just played Senator Harris as saying she wants to abolish the insurance industry. That's not correct. That's not American. What's next? What industry are we going to abolish next? The coffee industry?
The billionaire coffee magnate says he's considering an independent presidential bid because Democrats have moved too far to the left on policy.
In order to run as a Democrat today, you have to fall in line with free Medicare for everybody, free college for everybody, a free job for everybody.
Today in New Hampshire, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who's weighing a potential presidential bid as a Democrat, also took a whack at Senator Harris's proposal.
I think you could never afford that. You're talking about trillions of dollars.
Harris isn't the only one backing Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All bill. She joins other 2020 candidates, including Senator Elizabeth Warren and Kirsten Gillibrand, as well as potential contender Cory Booker. It's a divide between the progressive and moderate wings of the party that will play out in the coming months. Schultz, whose possible independent run has sparked concerns among Democrats, it could help the president by splitting the anti-Trump vote.
Don't help elect Trump, you egotistical billionaire.
Is not limiting his criticism to just health care. He also took aim at Warren's plan to tax the assets of Americans worth more than $50 million.
When I see Elizabeth Warren come out with, a ridiculous plan of taxing wealthy people, a surtax of 2% because it makes a good headline or sends out a tweet when she knows in a fact that's not something that's ever going to be passed, this is what's wrong.
The Massachusetts senator fired back on Twitter, writing Schultz's potential campaign was a ridiculous attempt to buy the presidency.
And while Schultz and Bloomberg are warning the Democratic candidates to ease up a bit on their populist policy pitches, the field as it currently stands shows no sign of backing down. These hot-button issues like free college, free health care, even a $15 minimum wage, once thought to be radical, appear to be the starting line in this Democratic primary. Jake?
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. Let's talk about this. We should point out, even if Howard Schultz says that Medicare for all alienates the silent majority of Americans, it's vastly popular with Democrats. And according to a Kaiser Family Foundation poll released this week, 56% of the American people in general support Medicare for all. As I'll get to you in a second, as it goes to 42%. But Ryan's point is also on point. A lot of these proposals that in 2008, 2004, 2000 Democrats would have perceived as radical are now pretty much the price of admission.
I think Democrats are looking for bigger ideas, and I liked Ryan's report, but I think it's going to be very difficult to analyze the Democratic primary in a right-left continuum. Because the truth is there's not that much difference between the most moderate Democrat and the most liberal Democrat. There's not an Iraq war vote, which divided Hillary and Barack and was a monstrous issue, really important, and a chasm between the two. I think what Democrats are more looking for are things like charisma, talent, brains, heart. I thought, and I don't have a favorite. I don't have a candidate, first time in my life. I thought Kamala Harris in your town hall last night did a terrific job of that. It's fine that she's for Medicare or this or that. More importantly, Democrats are looking for someone who can beat Trump and who can unite the country.
So that poll, I just want to point out, I think that poll did say, when asked if you would pay more taxes to have Medicare for all, that number dropped precipitously.
It's true, but
right?
also...
So when people say, do you want to pay for this stuff? People say, well, no, I don't want to pay for it. Everybody likes free things. Everybody wants free education, free things. Then you say, hey, would you like to pay more taxes? People say, probably not.
You're not against free education, are you?
Free college? Free college
you
for
said
everybody?
education.
No, free college for everybody I'm against, I oppose. I think we should do something to rein in costs of college, absolutely. shouldn't rise way, above the consumer prices. It shouldn't be crazy. But no, people have to pay for things in this country.
Well, so instead of writing a check to Aetna, you write a check to Medicare.
You write a check to the government?
In all of this debate, in the back of everyone's mind, we have to remember how much debt this country is in. And somehow they still have to answer the question. I know the language, speaking with heart, making sure that they can relate to people. I've always said it's one of the things that Republicans need to do better. But on the policy side, they have to be able to explain what they're going to do. It's not enough to say, OK, I'm for Medicare for all. At some point, you have to lay out a plan and figure out how you're going to deliver that. And also, that silent majority that likes their private health care, likes their private insurance. They're not going to be so silent when there's a threat of taking it away from them.
Let me ask you a question, because one of the people who is helping Howard Schultz is a former colleague of yours in the Obama White House, Bill Burton, who is taking a lot of flack from Democrats on this. What do you make of that?
Well, I can simultaneously love Bill Burton and be grateful to him for being a friend and colleague and mentor for me for 20 years, and wish Howard Schultz was not running as an independent for president. This would be an entirely different conversation if he was running in the Democratic primary. I've heard his argument as to why he doesn't want to do that, but that's a debate that can happen within a Democratic primary as well. And I think the reason why Howard Schultz, is getting attacked, and people who work for him and believe in him, I've talked to Bill about it, believe in him, think he's pulled himself up by the bootstraps, why they're getting attacked is because of that. Because Democrats and many independents are scared as heck about Donald Trump getting reelected, and anything they see that could lead to that, they're going to fight against.
Yeah, Ross Perot ran and Clinton got elected. So, I mean, there's been third-party candidates and Democrats win, so why are you afraid?
This is obviously many years later, and as you well know, David, every election's different. He would certainly be somebody who would take a chunk of the
There is a fear because he is going to push Democrats to actually state political
You just heard him. You just heard him.
Policy,
And in fact,
positions.
Yeah.
And that is what they're afraid of.
And in fact, take a listen. Schultz claiming today that progressive candidates like Senators Harris and Warren are alienating the majority of American people with their proposals. Take a listen.
The Republicans want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. I don't agree with that. The Affordable Care Act should stay and it should be refined. But to think we should get rid of the insurance industry, again, this is exactly the situation. It's far too extremes on both sides, and the silent majority of America does not have a voice.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, look, I think part of his problem is he's having a conversation that is not aligned with the conversation that many people are having. What people are struggling with, and you saw this in the Washington Post ABC poll, is still health care. It was the #1 issue. They want affordable health care. Medicare for all, people may know what that means. They may have different definitions of what that means, but the support for that represents a desire to do something better. So that's the conversation.
Schultz just said? Isn't that what he just said?
He's talking about eliminating the insurance industry. He's responding to Kamala Harris. Look, what I would say for him is that I'm not sure why he's spending all of his time attacking all the Democratic candidates. I'd like to hear more about specifically what his proposals are.
He's offering a different idea. He's offering a different perspective. And I would actually say that it's nice. It's really refreshing to get someone who's actually in the real world. One of the problems is there's so much legislating going on at the White House, up at the, in Washington, that it's nice to get a perspective. I would say that he's actually talking about things that people.
When yesterday I told you that you're a Howard Schultz voter. He's going for somebody like you.
Maybe. I don't know.
He's going for somebody who was a Republican.
I think there may be room on his campaign. You might want to go.
Right, there you go.
Schultz love 2020.
He says the biggest issue facing America is the debt. And I worked for the last president to balance a budget. I know how you do it. You raise taxes and you cut spending. That's what you do. Well, he wants to cut spending for the most vulnerable people, for sick old people. He wants to cut their Medicare. He wants to cut their Social Security. I think that's monstrous. But then what does he say about it?
Schultz wants to do that?
Yes, he does. He calls it entitlements, which means Social Security, Medicare. Then he's asked about taxing the rich. He's a billionaire, and somehow he's against that? Well, wait a minute. You want sick old ladies to help pay down the debt that was created by tax cuts for the rich, and you're rich and you don't want to tax the rich. You go take that to the American people, Howard.
Cut sick old people, throw them off the bus.
That's Howard Schultz.
I'm defending Howard Schultz. I don't know why, but he didn't say it.
He's certainly throwing a lot of curveballs into the 2020 race.